And that desperation forced my transformation, started to reprogram my mindset, increase my
Yeah.
standards, elevate my habits, and basically use enterprise sales as a vehicle to sell my way out of personal, financial, and career turmoil.
Assalamu Alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Deen Deals Podcast. With us today is a new good friend of mine. I like to say new because we haven't known each other for that long, Mike. But Mike Sullivan. Mike is a executive account director over at TriNetX. Am I saying the name of the company correctly, Mike? Awesome.
You got it. You got it.
And he's been there for some time. And for those of you who watch this show and have been keeping up, you heard Muhammad and I talk about an individual who we were inspired by. We heard his story of, being, an account executive who's making ends meet, balancing family and career and all these things. And then, I don't want to tell your story for you, Mike, but you were able to just kind of rise amongst the crowd of just average performers and be a top AE, and that's kind of been your story. But I'll leave that for you to share with us today. But we're really excited to have you on. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Futhal. I'm excited to be here and appreciate you guys having me on. So looking forward to it, man.
Absolutely. Well, I guess the first thing I want to hit you with is, early in your career, where did you start necessarily in the sales world? Did you take any like career pivots? Like, how did you? I think everybody has a different way they land in sales. I know for me, I started in like IT, and I was like, I do not like this stuff, but I can imagine selling it would be cool. So that's kind of how I got in. But what about for you?
Oh man, do you want the 2-minute version or the 2-hour version or something in between?
If for those who know
So
me, people know that I like the 2-hour version. So go for it.
yeah. I'll try to keep it brief for the audience. But my first sales job was selling gym memberships. So at World Gym in this town in where I'm from called Dedham, and it's near outside of Boston, Mass. So that was my first sales job, selling gym memberships. That's where I got my love for fitness, and I never knew it would, sort of lead to a path in enterprise sales.
Yeah.
My next sales job was selling retail, so shoes. I was like an Al Bundy, worked retail, selling
Nice.
shoes. My dad was in the shoe business, so I thought I was going to follow in his footsteps a little bit. That didn't pan out.
Yeah.
Then I don't know if it's an upgrade, but I went to the used car lot from there. So I'm an ex-used car sales guy. I remind my boss of that all the time. I'm like, I'm talking to enterprise customers, but deep down, I was a used car sales guy.
Yeah. Which is funny. People
But
always knock on it, but I mean, like, if you think about it, you know this better than me. Obviously, you've sold probably dozens of cars, but it's such a personal thing. People are like trusting so much in you. People are like especially used cars.
yeah,
People are like, you almost feel like you're a part of a huge like life decision for them. So it's a big
yeah,
deal. Same thing with the enterprise sales, like obviously on a different scale, but if people mess up a enterprise sales purchase, for example, their career could be in deep water. So
yeah, absolutely. It's where the used car lot is where I cut my teeth. So I worked with
Mm.
two of my best friends, James and Pete, and it was like smartphones weren't a thing back then, but
Yeah.
if they were, we probably would have gone viral many times over with the things that used to go on at the dealership. But I just basically learned how to talk to customers, how to be personable, how to
Yeah.
sell like a human, and really be empathetic. And then eventually got into recruiting, and I had extreme call reluctance, got fired from recruiting job after 3 months,
Wow.
and eventually got into the tech space, starting as a project manager first, then eventually into an account management and in an AE role.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I was 39, my story is, the elevator version of my story is was 39. I played it safe for a long time in my life and was afraid to bet on myself and had a huge amount of debt, wife and kids at home, and got laid off from a job. and I was desperate, and that desperation forced my transformation, started to reprogram my mindset, increase my
Yeah.
standards, elevate my habits, and basically use enterprise sales as a vehicle to sell my way out of personal, financial, and career turmoil. So I'm 48 now and been in this role at TriNetX for a little over 7.5 years. So that's the elevator version of the kind of my sales journey.
No, that's amazing. It's so much to unpack there. I think the first thing is it like you go from, you said, the car sales world to recruiting. Did you like
Mhm.
meet somebody while selling cars who was in the recruiting world? Like how did you land from
Yeah,
that to that?
good question. Yeah, one of my fellow sales guys, his wife worked at a recruiting firm and kind of got me an interview, and I had major imposter syndrome. I mean, I don't know if imposter syndrome was a thing back then, but
Yeah.
I was pretty scared. Like I did
Yeah.
not belong, and I was from the used car lot, and
Yeah.
I did well there, and
Yeah.
I knew I could sell, but I mean that's a huge transition. Just could I do this? And I was fine talking to candidates
Yeah.
because I was empathetic. I like to help people, but picking up the phone and asking for job orders, I didn't pick up the phone and ask for one. Like,
Wow.
yeah, just paralyzing fear of failure, fear of
Yeah.
judgment. I wasn't the best public speaker. Had this
Absolutely. Yeah.
goofy
Yeah.
Boston accent. I'm like, people are going to realize that I'm an
But
imposter, and
y-
yeah,
it's such a real thing. Like, call reluctance is no joke. Like, I talk about this a lot with
yeah,
AE buddies of mine, where it's like, I started in the BDR world. When I transitioned to sales, that is. And
hmm
you basically, if you don't make calls with the modern technologies, like they see these dashboards and everything. So you kind of have
sure,
no choice. But as
hmm
you get promoted to the closing position, it's like nobody's really breathing down your neck. You have pipe generation goals. How you get it is up to you, but it's
yeah.
so real when it comes to the call reluctance. But it makes such a big difference.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
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 absolutely. Yeah, it's something that's important to get over, and you only get over that by putting in the reps and showing up when you don't want to, and just you learn to become comfortable with it through experience, right?
yeah, yeah. So another thing I want to kind of, and this will probably take us into many more directions, but you also mentioned, uh, you know, there was a moment where it's like, okay, you're 39, something clicks. I know you've talked
hmm
about this in other podcasts and whatnot, but before we kind of get into that, I guess a question that I want to understand from you is like, where, like, why is it that some people, like, do you think everybody needs to have that, like, per se, rock bottom type situation
Mm,
for them to really feel the pain of, you know, just, okay, I have to change. I have to do better.
yeah.
Cause like, I guess a lot of us, I think something I've thought about a lot is this concept of life unlived, right? Like there's a version of me who didn't sleep past my workout this morning, right? And could have went and, did the workout and did, instead of
hmm
halfway asleep thinking, oh, I could just work out at like 4:35 right after work and make it work and then go back to sleep. There's a version of me that actually got up and did it. And
Right.
sometimes that version does win. But what is it from your experience and from the people you've coached and, mentor and
hmm
whatnot? What is it that happens? Does it have to be a rock bottom? Maybe why was it
Yeah.
a tough situation for you that kind of just got you to go and never stop, I guess you could say?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that question. I don't. Everyone's different, right? Everyone's circumstances are different. We're all different in the way our beliefs, our internal wiring, our childhood, and our habits, and so forth. And I don't think it's a requirement, right? Um, I don't think it's a requirement to hit a rock bottom in order to get to a higher level that you're trying to get to. That said, if you're striving for greatness, like
Yeah.
if you're trying to really level up, you gotta go through some. It's not gonna be easy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's easy, it's not really worth it
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. Like I'm a big believer that like pain, struggle, the adversity, it's a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at it that way and you realize like this storm, whatever the storm is that I have to go through personally, professionally, if you just DFQ, I don't want to swear on your podcast, if you don't bleeping quit, you can get through that storm and you get on the other side of it
Yeah.
and get to the next level, get to the thing you're striving for. I don't think you need the rock bottom. For me personally, in my situation, I needed it
Yeah.
because I played it safe for almost 20 years. I almost played it safe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the catalyst was all that debt, unemployed. When my daughter was diagnosed with autism, then it was no longer about me and my fragile ego and running from fear, running from doubt, fear of judgment. Then when other people were relying on me,
Yeah.
then it was like I had to draw a line in the sand. And I used that. Rock bottom was the foundation that I built the next 7, 8 years on.
Yeah.
And I learned strategies to upgrade my standards, my habits. Working out, like you said, has been
Yeah.
a big influence on my life in
Yeah. I
terms of
noticed you
like
post about
building
that a
confidence,
lot.
putting the
Yeah.
rep. Yeah, yeah, it's a huge. I think it's one of the most important. Doesn't have to be working out, but any like physical activity.
Yeah.
It could be swimming, running, Peloton. It could be hiking. Could be meditation. Could be the
Absolutely.
gym. Could be sports. Um, because as sellers, it's like this, right?
Yeah.
How are you gonna deal with those ebbs and flows when they come? And having a physical activity, there's just you know we could have a whole podcast about the benefits
Yeah,
of that,
no. I
right?
mean,
It's
it's
huge.
exactly. I mean, to your point, it's the ebbs and flows will have a physical impact on you. So if you're not
Right.
physically ready for it, it can hurt you. And I think one thing I want to understand is just to kind of dive a little deeper. Is you talk about the line of the sand, and that's it. You just went ahead from there. Do you feel like in your journey, and I ask this from the perspective of how many times do you get a text from a friend or you're the person texting a friend saying, "That's it, line in the sand. I'm I'm
Mm,
I'm going to change. This new me, new me, new me." But then you kind of all right, you don't move past or you go a little
mm,
and then you come back and then you have to draw the new like you do that maybe 50 to 60 times, whatever it is until it finally happens. Um
yeah.
did you go through that experience where it's like, all right, that's it, new mic, new mic, new mic?
Yep.
What like? I guess what I'm trying to understand is like when you finally put one foot forward after
Hmm.
the other, like what was it that, like, how did you attack those internal
Keep going.
demons? Yeah, that
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like day
Yeah.
two. It's like, God, I'm still stuck in the debt. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
was it like what was that process day in and day out to just
Sure.
kind of protect that internal mission?
Yeah. Yeah. We all have an inner critic,
Yeah,
right? We all have that inner critic of fear of failure is very common, right? Fear of
right,
failure, all that doubt, the imposter syndrome stuff.
right.
And if we don't gain control of that inner critic, that mindset that's
Yeah,
on one shoulder, it
yeah,
will lead you into all kinds of it'll lead you wherever you want, right? You're
yeah,
not in control. So you have to, on the other side, sort of overwrite that limiting belief system.
yeah,
And it took me a long time. I had this hour commute to and from my previous role as an AE where I was doing okay, but just like barely scraping, when you're just like barely scraping by and you're like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not where I need to be, but I need to stick it out until I build enough experience where I can go get whatever role I'm trying to get, enterprise sales or,
Absolutely.
or whatnot. And yeah, on that commute, I just was listening to all the right podcasts
Yeah.
and intentionally choosing the right thoughts,
Yeah.
right? It's like a radio station. Your mind is like a radio station. On the radio, you can change the station to a different frequency,
Yeah.
right? To a different song that you choose to listen to. The same is
Absolutely.
in our minds. We can consciously choose and tune your mind to the right frequency, to the
Yeah.
right thought. So if you intentionally choose the right thought day in and day out, it's like a catch and release. If you catch those negative limiting beliefs, right? Like going
Yeah.
into a call, for example, like, oh my God, what if this call goes bad? I remember the last call went bad. It's like,
Yeah.
stop, remember all the calls that went good, settle yourself down, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just intentionally choosing the right thoughts. But I'm a big believer that it's not owned, like a strong mindset. It's just like the gym, right?
Yeah.
You don't work out 3 times and you're in shape for the rest of your life, right? You got to
Yep.
work on your brain the same
Yeah.
way, like
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer that it's rented and you got to pay the rent every day, just like you do in the gym. It's the same thing. Your brain is a muscle. You got to treat it the same way.
Wow. So you're saying that, and at 39, were you in that, like, in when the line in the sand is drawn? Are you in that
Mhm.
old AE role and you start doing the work, or is it that you had moved to TriNetX? Like, what's the story there? What's that
Yeah,
journey? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sure. So I was 39, and well, back up a little bit.
Sure.
When I was laid off from that recruiting role, and I had to move back home in mom and dad's basement, right? And I was like 32 years old, and I had a business degree from Babson College. It's one of the
Yeah.
best business schools in the world.
Wow.
And I graduated with the founder of Ring Camera was in my graduating class,
Oh shoot. Are
Jamie
you still in
Siminoff.
touch with him?
I am not. No, I'm
Okay.
not.
Okay.
I am not. Yeah, he was on Shark Tank, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
He was
so
rejected.
that was the
He's really famous for being on Shark Tank because they
yeah,
rejected
yeah,
him, as you know.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was in my Babson College class in '99. But it's what's interesting is I took such a safe, strange route in my career
Yeah.
because I was just controlled by my weak, limiting beliefs, low self confidence, wherever that came from, something in my
Yeah.
childhood or whatever, right? And yeah, so 32 when I got laid off from the recruiting role, living home with mom and dad.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in a depressed state, right? I was unemployed for like 6 months. What is my next move going to be? Got into IT services with my brother-in-law, and his company at the time was there for 7, 8 years. That was the sort of project management, account management role. Figured out that I ended up in sales. I mean, I told my brother-in-law at the time, like, I don't want to be in sales. I
Yeah.
was a used car guy. I don't want to be in sales. I don't want to be in sales. I remember telling
Yeah.
him that. So that company went under and folded, and I was 30, probably 38-ish at the time, almost 39.
Wow.
And I was taking personal loans to pay bills, not telling my wife about them. I had 80K in debt. We
Wow.
had kids at the time, and I had some dark thoughts. I was never, didn't really have suicidal thoughts, but my mind would drift to, like, we have that life insurance policy. Is that an option? And I shook that off, but that's like the darkness
Yeah.
that I was in. And then the turning point was, I got a job as an AE at a small software shop. And again, I was just sort of scraping by, was there for about a year or so. And then this is when I was doing all this programming work, the commute I had to and from work, about an hour at a time.
Yeah.
And I was just like reprogramming this thing, right? And I came across this video where it was like, you can program your brain to make more money. So I was telling myself, like, I'm so grateful I make 300K. It allows me to pay off my debt, take my family to Disney World. And I was saying this to myself, visualization, right?
Yeah.
Everyone shakes their head like,
I
oh,
was just about to
BS,
say,
woo
like, it
woo.
gets a lot of
Yeah,
crap. Like I
it
remember.
does.
Have
But
you
it's
ever heard the book?
based on neuroscience. It's a real
Mm,
thing, man. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
So you,
Tanvir will talk about this a lot when
uh,
you have him on, or if you've
yeah,
had him on,
next
right?
next Friday, yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
having him on. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's based on neuroscience big time. I mean, you check out Andrew Huberman's podcast and so
Yeah.
forth. The old saying, right? If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, and you're
Mm,
reprogramming your prefrontal cortex to
yeah.
see opportunities where you can make. For me, it was like 300K would be like the most amount of money a rep could ever make.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
you have,
I
of
started
course,
to spot
surpassed that,
opportunities.
but
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
the thing that did it for me was, I was sitting at my desk preparing for a demo, and I was like, I got to change my situation. I got to change my situation. I sent a cold DM to chief commercial officer at TriNetX, the company I'm at the time, and put myself out there. He responded. They brought me in for an interview, and my offer was right around 300 OTE,
Wow.
and I was like, what just happened here? I got myself into an enterprise AE role, and I was like, this mindset stuff, like, you actually can do that. You can manifest things into your life if you believe it
Yeah.
enough. I was desperate, I was not hungry, I was starving. Like,
Yeah.
you have to, like, want it, you have to be so that's where, like, a rock bottom or a pivotal moment of
Yeah.
where you've had enough and you need to draw the line, it can really affect change and get you to do things and step outside your comfort zone that you wouldn't normally do.
Wow. I mean, Mike, that's so much to unpack right there. I think the
Mm,
first reflection that comes to mind is like, in our faith tradition as Muslims, we have this narration, believe from God, right? That is that to the kind of mindset stuff of like the saying goes like, "I'm what my servant thinks of me." God speaking to humanity. If my servant thinks I'm going to give him, peanuts, basically, I'm paraphrasing. That's what I'll get. But if
mhm,
he has this belief in mercy and abundance and wealth, whatever it is, then he'll get that. Obviously, it's not your experience is a testament that it's not like you just walked in and you made 300K. You had to put in the work, right? But it's crazy because it's like a lot of people kind of revert to that old survival mindset of like, oh no, I just need, there's, they see only what's in front of them. And what I love about
mm,
your story is that you kind of just like you broke that shell or whatever it is to just say, you know what,
mm,
I can have more, right? If other people can have it, if other people can have even more than that, then I myself, why not me, right? And
mhm,
I love that about your story. Just out of curiosity, what was it about TriNetX that like attracted you to going there, for example, versus maybe other places? Like, was it you saw a
mhm.
job opportunity? What was that? And it was like what, like
Yeah,
10 years ago or 7 years ago, you said, but
yeah, 7 and a a little over 7.5 years ago, so that's a great question. So when I was working for Lincoln Peak, which was my brother-in-law's IT services
hmm hmm
company, we did a project where we were building this federated network of
yeah,
data of
yeah,
electronic health records. And we did a project for Harvard Medical School.
hmm
So that I took that experience. So when I was at Open Clinica, which was my next stop as an AE, where I was doing okay, I was doing all this work, right? I was networking with people, old mentors, like, hey, what about this company? What about that company? And one of my old mentors had put the bug in my ear about, oh, TriNetX is doing some interesting things. So I went and researched them, and I realized the technology was something very, very similar to the project we built for Harvard Medical School. So I was like,
wow,
I know what those guys are doing. There was no job posting. I was just like, I want to work for those guys. This is what I help my coaching clients with, or folks who are looking for a job. I'm like, forget the job. Like, where do you want to work? Make a list of 10 companies. What's your dream company? ServiceNow, Salesforce, whatever it is, right? Go reach out to the hiring manager.
yeah,
Don't even look at the posting. Do
yeah,
like, what's the latest news? What's going on in the industry?
yeah,
Walk in your backyard, record a video, send a video DM, not rehearsed, totally unscripted. Everyone wants like a human. People are
yeah,
sick of talking to robots and getting all AI generated BS, right? So I put myself out there. I
yeah.
didn't send a video. I sent a cold LinkedIn DM to the chief commercial officer and I just pitched myself. I know what you guys are doing. We'll have to talk about coming to work for you. Um, and they brought me in, and it all worked out. So that's what I advise people to do is just like you would hunt for the next, big logo you're trying to close, you got to
Yeah.
treat whatever role you're trying to get in the same way. You just got to go after it.
Okay, so a few questions there, and then I kind of do want to get back to the mindset stuff because there's you mentioned some videos and stuff like that, but just on the topic of TriNetX and like I feel like a lot of people whenever they're evaluating jobs, and I think you and I talked about this before, but they're like thinking so much about like uncontrollables before they take them on. What I mean by that is like, for example, I know
Mm,
some people who they'll hit me up. They'll see a job posting on my team or wherever it is, or like they'll know that I know somebody on a team that's hiring. Instead of having this kind of like open eyed mindset of like, hey, what's I'll sign me up. I'll do whatever it takes. It's kind of like there's this almost jaded response of like, what's the territory like? Tell me. And by the way, that's not a bad
Yeah,
question. Like, you want to know that you're not getting into, you know, I think this guy, I don't know if you ever heard of Alex Hermosi. He talks about like selling
of
um,
course.
lemonade to a thirsty crowd, right? Like, of course, you
Yeah.
want to have the opportunity to sell something that people want to buy, and there's an appetite to buy it. But I digress from that point. A lot of people like kind of point the finger outside, right?
Mm,
Externally, instead of like, what can I do to bring value to that territory? And by the way, I'm not saying I'm this
hmm.
perfect person who comes into dead territories and tries to revive them, but what do you say to that perspective of, like, what if TriNetX said, is like, all right, well, we're just gonna give this guy like the most dead territory. We're gonna test this guy. Oh, he's coming
Yeah.
out bold and everything. Like, what could have happened, or was that your case? Did you get into a territory that was totally like net new and you had to build it up? Like, what's the background there?
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple things to unpack there. I love what you said, uncontrollables, right? My like number one thing that I try to live by and that I try to coach my coaching clients on
Yeah,
is just that control the controllables,
yeah,
right? Like we cannot go into DocuSign for our customer and sign the contract, right? As much as leadership might think we can do that, and our customers don't care about our end of quarter,
yeah.
right? They
That's
do
true.
not care about our end of quarter at all,
Right, right.
right? And so control what you can control. What can you control? You can control your attitude and your
Yeah,
thoughts. You can choose your thoughts, consciously choose your attitude and your
yeah,
mindset. That's
yeah,
the biggest thing. Number two is your actions, right? Your inputs. You can control your inputs, what you're doing every day, how you wake up. You could have chosen to skip your workout. You got up and chose to do it, right? I'm sure
sure,
you're going to have a much better day because you got that in.
sure.
And your effort, right? The intensity of those actions, right? Your effort, the intensity you're approaching your day with. Can't control much else. Can't control what the
Yeah,
market's going to do, inflation's going to do,
yeah.
territory assignments, comp plan changes, leadership changes,
Quota.
reorgs, quota.
Yeah.
We might think we can negotiate some of those things, but
I've never seen a quota
not
go
much.
down. I heard someone
Yeah,
once complaining about, oh man, they gave me a high quota. It's like, I was just joking with them. I was like, all right, you should go see if they'll cut it in half for you. It's like, no, they wouldn't do that. Then why are you complaining? You can't do anything about it,
yeah,
right? Like, it
absolutely.
sucks,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's a
Control
challenge.
the
Like, if you,
controllables.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, control the controllables. It's simple, but also difficult, right?
right,
It's a simple, but it's really you got to be super disciplined about that. But yeah, to
absolutely,
answer your question, I mean, my territory when I got here, it was all net new logos, and within my first 6 months, I was fortunate. I closed one $3 million 3-year deal was 1 million ACV
wow.
deal was the first deal I closed my first 6 months. Then I
Was it
closed
the
another
biggest deal
800.
you'd ever closed?
Oh yeah, by far. At that point in my
Wow,
career, oh my God, yeah. My
wow,
previous company, the deal size was like 30K.
wow. That's insane.
Yeah, yeah,
That must have felt
yeah,
amazing to close something that like go from 30K deals to like 7-figure
yeah.
deals. Yeah.
I mean, I worked for my leadership now is still incredible. I mean, I think it's tops when you're choosing your next, if you're looking for your next company or whatever for people
Yeah.
out there, like the leadership is like the number one thing. People who can
Totally
coach
agree.
you, mentor you, teach you, who get it, who understand, who have sold before. So the guys that I worked for who brought me in, Tim and Brian, they just took me under their wing, and
Yeah.
I watched how they operated and helped me navigate this deal. No one's going to close deals like that or enterprise deals. I mean, you need a team, right? Whether
Yeah.
you're mid market, enterprise, whatever it is, strategic, it takes a team.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky that they showed me the ropes. And then once we closed that first deal, I was like, this is like, it's not, it just takes longer. It's actually, I'm a big believer that it can be just as complex. People will call me crazy. This might be controversial, but like those 50K deals, I was 50K deals I was closing my other company. Those were just as hard as the $1 million deal. It wasn't that much harder.
Yeah.
right? It took a little longer, there were more people involved, but it's yeah, that's a controversial take, but I think
I agree with
sales
it,
is
by the way.
difficult in general, but yeah, what's your take on it?
No, I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, like, and I was follow up. I was going to ask you, but we don't have to tackle it right now. But is like, in my role right now, I'm an inside sales rep, so we handle new business and existing customers. And if you think about it, like an existing customer who has a multi-million dollar contract with you, every year they still have to, because in government we don't do, like, we do 1 year renewals, right? Every year they have to go and justify that funding, right? So you are effectively asking them to find the money, but it's way easier, obviously, than you know, add-ons here and there, but it's still they're still going to find money again to make it happen, despite if it's budgeted or not. So I'm totally with you, and I remember at my last role, on my way out, I was working a net new deal that took months, and I actually had died the year before, and I saw it in the system. I was
Mhm.
like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. And so many demos, so many reviews, procurement calls, different directors of IT that I had to get eyes on. And then the reason it didn't close when I was on my way out from my last job was it had like 11 steps worth of procurement. Now, the rep
Yeah,
who got involved after went on to close it, but it was only like 30K. Like, and then when I, got here,
right.
obviously the product line is different and everything. It's like I immediately was exposed to deals that were bigger but closed, probably with a lot more ease.
Yeah,
So I definitely
right.
agree with that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
guess a follow-up to that is, have you still been only net new, or now do you have a book of business
Mhm.
that you kinda run, and grow
Yeah,
from there?
yeah, great question. Yeah, so, um, I have a existing book of business, so I have about 10 accounts or so, 10 to 12 accounts, and I sell to life science companies, so to big pharma.
Yeah,
And extremely complex organizations, right?
yeah,
Fortune 500, some Fortune 100 organizations, and extremely complex.
yeah.
Multiple buyers. A lot of it's RFP driven. There's people
Wow.
moving and all the time, and it's fun.
Yeah,
It's challenging. It's fun. Most of my customers, we have an MSA with,
yeah.
which is always beneficial. Um, so yeah, we're constantly launching, new data products or new technologies. We're doing a lot with APIs and AI now and sort of trying to help our clients accelerate clinical development. So
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah, that's
I
how it's
guess
handled.
where that leads me to is this, and this was something I was really thinking about after you and I spoke the other day, which is that, and I by the way, I classify myself as someone who could be in this, these buckets that I thought of, but something I've been thinking a lot about is that I feel like in my short career in sales, I've observed three kinds of sellers. There's a group of sellers that, maybe realizes that at some point sales isn't for them, right? Like this
Hmm.
year in and year out hustle to get to 100, like there's no joy in it. Um, they see colleagues who maybe end up making the same in other careers as long as they just put their heads down and focus, whether it's like IT or other things. And they're like, man, all this work and my, full OT isn't even guaranteed. They bounce out. They don't last. And I've seen it, and there's no shame in that. Like, it's good on you if you realize like something's not your thing. But
Hmm.
then there's another group that's like good enough in this game to like build a comfortable career. They're relatively passive. They know how to speak the language, the jargon, but it's a very reactive seller. 1 year they'll hit 80%. 1 year maybe they get lucky and they get 150, but there isn't like a active pursuit to do
Yeah.
anything outrageous. It's just let's keep the homeostasis, as they say. Like let's
Hmm.
grow a little bit. Wall Street will like it. My management will like it. Some years I'll
Hmm.
have some good excuses. I'll be able to speak to it in QBRs, whatever. But
Yeah.
then there's those sellers who, from what I gathered from your story, who are the elite tier, honestly, and who, I aspire to be like. They're the people who really get into a territory and like think this is my business. Like I am the entrepreneur of this said, whether it's life sciences or for me, Northeast SLED, this is my
Hmm.
business. I'm going to, treat it that way. I'm going to make a bunch of calls. I'm going to expand. We don't have business in this part of the territory. I'm going to be the guy who goes and finds business and leaves a mark on this territory, leaving it better than when I found it. Um, I'm curious, like, first of all, what do you think? Like, how do you see those tiers? Is that something you see, like, where there's, below average, average, and like high performers? And more importantly, like, what do you think actually separates them? And what takes that maybe
Mm,
bunch of like passive or comfortable, or maybe people who are like they aspire to be that elite seller, but they just feel stuck. There's like a ceiling that they can't break past. Like, do you see that in your world, and like what would you make of that, and how can someone go
yeah,
from that passive person to say that bottom tier, they'll find their way out, it's okay, but
yeah,
the,
yeah,
the
yeah.
average who wants to be great, what do you say to that?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. I got to think about that one for a minute. Yeah, I think the top 1% just operate differently.
Yeah.
They have a different like fundamental operating system,
Yeah.
different standards, a different identity. Um, Identity meaning, so I'll say this: I don't think like where I've gotten, and I don't think like I've done anything. Like I am extremely hard on myself. I think I have imposter syndrome and doubts just like everyone else, you know what I mean? I think we all do. It's we learn how to channel those things and use them as fuel to help us grow rather than to stop us.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think that, the standards and the way of being, like the identity, right? I think like it starts with a foundational layer of self,
Yeah.
which is like, what's your why? What's driving you? What are your core values, right? Like for me, it's my family. I've got 3 kids. I have a 13-year-old. She has autism, right? So we're gonna take care of her forever.
Yeah.
That's a scary thing. We don't know what the future is going to hold for one of our children. That I've used that to help me accelerate my life and say, "F it,
Yeah.
I'm going for it." You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's really important to anchor to like, why do you want to be a 7-figure seller, a top 1%? Like, why? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it can be for whatever reason, but you've got to like have that thing that's going to push you, rather pull you. If you have something that can pull you when the times are tough, it's so important. And like your identity, it's like, who's the person that you want to be, right?
Yeah.
And believing that to your core, that you can get to that next level, right?
Yeah.
And then backing that up with the habits, like what are the habits that a top 1%er has, right? Talk to those guys, be around those people. Proximity is power, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big Hormozy guy too. It's like, if you show up as a new AE at Salesforce, for example, go talk to all the 7-figure earners, become best friends with them, understand what makes the place tick, how you have to operate, what's the operating system. Huge.
Yeah.
Proximity is definitely power.
Yeah.
Um, and you just have to believe you can get to that level, and you got to play the long game. Very important, right?
Yeah.
You got to willing to play the long game. Because some of these sales cycles, I mean, some of the sales cycles on the deals that I've worked have taken, 18 months
Yeah. Yeah.
easily,
Yeah.
easily. And some of the biggest commissions I've ever made, 18-month sales cycle, right? Uncertainty the whole way. It didn't have all the answers, didn't know who the decision maker was, didn't know who was signing, but
Yeah.
it had so much momentum during like the pilot phase or whatever. I was
Of
like,
course.
I feel good about this. We can forecast this. So it's a combination of things.
Yeah.
But I think at the bottom line is holding yourself to extremely high standards
Right.
in everything you do, not just sales,
Yeah.
like in your personal life. All those things. It's like, how would how does an Olympic athlete train, right? How does an NBA basketball player train?
Yeah.
They're, practice makes a huge difference. Rest makes a huge difference. Nutrition makes a huge difference. Not going out drinking, doing drugs, doing stupid crap makes a huge difference. Like, you got to treat yourself like you're like an athlete, like a
Yeah.
business athlete, so to
Yeah.
speak, right? All those things, extremely high standards, long game, believing you can do it. And you know what? It's personally, I'm not the most technical seller. I'm not the most eloquent speaker. I'm not the best presenter, but none of that matters. Like, you have to just believe you can arrive at a place, quarterback a deal,
Yeah.
take command of your territory, become CEO of your territory. Like,
Yeah.
like you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
right? And then rallying everyone around you to help you quarterback a deal across the finish line. And that's my feeling on what it takes.
That's amazing. I really appreciate the thought process there. And by the way, you know, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I very much disagree. I think you are uh, really good at all the things you said you don't think you're that good at. So, especially in talking to you multiple times now and hearing you on different shows, and obviously your results speak for that. So, um, that's one thing. But I think one thing I'm also trying to understand, like based on what you're saying, is like, okay, there's these anchors that carry us through, times. And I think every single person, to your earlier point, that you don't necessarily have to go through rock bottom to achieve
Hmm.
these great heights, but we all have anchors. We all have things that to our core, like drive us to want to achieve great things, but we don't always have them awakened. In the same sense of a
Mm.
muscle, right? Like, I know that when I work out my biceps twice a week, like I used to a lot back when I was a little younger, they would always be popping. But if I go once a week or I miss 1 week, even though like the muscles there, it's not showing, it's not visible. So my mind
Hmm.
suddenly sees that as like, oh, okay, I'm not. What's happening to me? I'm losing my muscle. I think the same thing as what you're saying earlier about the brain is it's like that anchor, whatever it is in your life, or those anchors, wherever they may be, are there, but you just, what I'm understanding is like you have to remind yourself. It's not,
Yeah.
you have to be redundant. That's how the brain, that's how the body works. You have to
Hmm.
constantly do these same things day in and day out. And I guess where that brings me in on a personal level is like what I'm trying to understand is, you talk about figuring this out on other shows. I heard you say that you did this hard work on your own. You would, in your car rides, in your free time, you were working on your mind on just kind of bringing the best self out of you, and now living it and continuing to live it and continue to bring it out. That brings me to coaching. What are
Mm.
your thoughts on someone who, I'll use myself for example, right? Let's say I'm someone who doesn't want to have to waste time until a certain point something happens, and god forbid something rough, and we do get tested in life, right? That's just the nature of the beast. But what if I don't want to have to bring that upon myself? Like, if I have the choice to pick up the phone and call a customer and maybe change
Hmm.
the destiny of where deals are going, I also have the choice right now to, you know it's earlier in the year, I could still become a 200% attainer, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Knowing that, why would I say sign up for coaching in any program and expedite that when maybe I could, like, for example, just or I don't need to buy a bunch of books. I have a bunch of sales books that are
Mm.
sitting in my room, right? I could
Yeah. Yeah.
set my alarm up and get up even earlier. I could do all these hard things. What am I buying when I buy a coaching program, when I
Yeah.
could just maybe do it myself, as maybe your experience is? I know you've done other kinds of
Yeah.
coaching, but that's something I talk to a lot of people about, because, like, uh, and sorry, this is a little longer monologue, I guess you could say, but this is something I'm going through right now. I'm trying to understand, like, okay, man, these investments in myself are, I know they could be worth it. They could have a high ROI, but why can't I just do it myself? I think that's really what I'm
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to get at.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So my transformation that I did, I didn't even know coaching was a thing back then, or I would have invested in it, if I
Mm,
knew about it.
yeah.
So I just read the books, Think and Grow Rich, and those classics, and just figured out how to turn it around myself.
Yeah.
And only probably about 18 months ago, I was on LinkedIn and I was, followed folks like Ian Koniak and Brandon Fluharty and
Yeah.
Jamal Reimer and all these elite
Oh, geez.
people, the OGs, right? The guys on the Mount Rushmore of enterprise sales. Um, and I was scared to plateau. I knew that I had done something unique, which is like really do a 180 in life, and I was
Yeah.
just scared of plateauing, but scared of like going back. Like when I was like, what if I can't sustain this, right? What if
Yeah.
we all go through that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
the scoreboard went to 0 about 5 weeks ago here,
Have
and
have
we're all like, how do
yeah.
I do this again, right? How do
Yeah,
we,
yeah. Or have you watched The Last Dance, the documentary?
yeah,
You know, the
fantastic.
in the intro they always say, "Can they do it again?" about that Last
Yeah,
Dance year. So
yeah,
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 no, to that point, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So I started working with Brandon Fluharty a little over 18 months ago, and he's just brilliant, and he just thinks differently than everyone out there. And he's helped me with selling, with putting myself out there on LinkedIn, with trying to think about how to grow my own IP, create my own business using my experience.
Yeah.
And it just like the coaches can help you see things that are like right in front of your face. Coaches or mentors that you can't see, right?
Yeah.
Like they were like they can highlight your blind spots, um, and just get you into action, right?
Yeah.
So had a tremendous experience working with Brandon. I met Taylor Johnson, who's a performance coach. Used to work in the NFL. Actually, he's
Wow.
a tremendous person. He's become a friend, and I had this mental block about 12 months ago. I wanted to tell my story on LinkedIn. This is an example of how our brains can take control and stop us from
Yeah.
taking action.
Yeah.
And I had done these cool things. I had some success, but I was like, I got to tell my story on LinkedIn. How do I do that? And then it's like, you can't do that. You're not good enough. No one cares what you think.
Yeah.
You haven't done crap. And, what are you going to try to be? Some influencer? People are going to laugh at you, all this BS.
It's crazy how so
And
many of us everybody has this
yeah,
fight internally,
right.
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. It's so interesting. And then I had enough self-awareness where I knew I was just in my own head. So I started working with Taylor, and he got me into action like that, right? He
Yeah.
was like, you have nothing to lose, and people who mind don't matter, people who matter don't mind, and who cares what people think, and think about the people that you can serve and help by sharing your story, sharing your message. So that's what I
Yeah.
focused on, and just got me into action. The accountability factor is a huge thing. Um, Basically working with a mentor or a coach, it's like you can accelerate your learning, accelerate what might take you 4 years, you might be able to do in 6 months to a year, because working with
Yeah.
someone who's been down the road you want to go down, I mean, huge. I've worked with several coaches over the last couple of years now, and it's the best investment you can make, in my opinion. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think something that a lot of people think about, you called it an investment because it is. It's a lot of it tends to be a lot of money.
yeah,
You know, I think the ROI piece is so important. In theory, right? Because if in theory, if someone can help you, double your income, for example, then paying, I don't know how many $1,000 to double your, or for a lot of people, most people, if they were able to double their income, their lives would change. So I think
yeah,
from a basic numbers sense, like it makes a lot of sense. But let's kind of shift kind of towards, let's say, folks who maybe are not there yet, or different people have different circumstances or whatever. I'd love to shine some light on the comeback framework that you had told me about. Like,
yeah,
let's say today somebody listens or once we release this, hopefully maybe Monday, um
mhm,
someone hears your story, they're inspired by the fact that you woke that internal Mike that we see on screen today up, and got yourself to
mhm.
where you're at. What's the comeback framework people need to adhere to be able to wake the internal person up and let them shine?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. So over the past 12 to 18 months or so, I developed a system, because I started a coaching business about 4 months ago. Small number of clients because I have to fit it early morning or early evening around my day job, obviously. And I needed a framework. I wanted to document the things that I did that
Yeah.
helped me out of the hole that I was in personally and professionally. Um, so all the things around mindset, building earned confidence, how to deal with imposter syndrome, how to install the right habits,
Yeah.
right, the right operating system, how to deal with the crap that we deal with, how to deal with real pain and struggle and adversity. A
Yeah.
lot of people that a lot of people since I was on Ian's fireside chat. I mean, I've talked to dozens and dozens of people. There's so many people out there struggling
Yeah.
with confidence issues, with tying their worth to their number, which is very dangerous, playing the comparison game rather than focusing on you versus you,
Yeah.
looking at the person next to you, looking at the leaderboard, which is tough because, sales organizations are smart. They know that that can be a motivator
Yeah.
and so forth. So the framework that I put together, I call it the comeback code. It's a field manual, which is not just, motivational mumbo jumbo. There's actual exercises and tools that folks can use to either sustain success or sustain what they already have done if they're
Yeah.
already at the top and want to stay at the top, or if they're going through their own rock bottom or their own season of pain or trying to come back from a bad quota or a bad year and trying to turn it around, right?
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I'll share it with you. You can share it with your viewers, but it really focuses, as I said, like on the foundational layer of self. Like my approach is not like, here's the next tactic.
Yeah.
It's really like an identity based formula around anchoring everything to your why, defining the identity of the person that you want to step into, defining the habits that cast votes for that identity. So James
Yeah.
Clear, Atomic Habits,
Yeah.
classic behavioral change, right?
Of course.
Who do you want to be? What are the habits that you have to do to get there? And then how do you do that every single day? And keeping your vision on like the North Star that you're shooting for, right? Could be, I want to be a 7-figure seller or whatever it is. Doesn't have to be, um, it can be anything, whatever your goal you're striving for is. Keeping that in the forefront, but also like disassociating from the outcome,
Yeah.
not tying your worth to the outcome, right? Which is tricky. It's a tricky thing to do, but that's sort of what that framework is. It's for folks to upgrade their operating system, to help them turn things around or help them sustain their success.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love all the things you said, and I guess let's say I was gonna go and start listening to some of these videos, like and implementing on these things on and visualizing. Like, is it just? Would you say for folks just start with those kinds of practices, like right now? Like someone hearing this goes to Google or YouTube or whatever is like looks up, you know. Is there like specific playlists or something you would
Yeah, yeah,
suggest?
yeah,
Or, yeah.
for sure. Oh, absolutely. You want my I don't know if anyone wants my playlist. It's a lot of heavy metal, a lot of Metallica,
Yeah.
old school music. But in terms of like the playlist, I mean, the people that I follow, they're not for everyone.
Yeah.
I encourage people to find what works for them, but
Yeah.
um, folks like Jocko Willink,
Yeah.
um, his extreme ownership philosophy. He's got an awesome playlist on Spotify, which is like these 1 to 2 minute clips where he talks about like discipline and overcoming procrastination, and it's in his like Navy SEAL, very direct voice. It doesn't
Yeah.
resonate with all. It
Not
resonated
everybody, yeah.
resonated with me.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
certainly was resonated with me, but yeah, there's certain things that I can point you to and recommend, but
Yeah.
Jocko's stuff is just is really moving. But there's so many folks out there. Like if you don't have a mentor or can't afford a mentor or a coach, there's so much information online. Curate your feeds, curate your LinkedIn feed, your Instagram feed. whatever it is. And that's a big thing too, is your environment, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Proximity's
getting rid
power.
of getting rid of the energy vampires, which can be, energy vampires of the people, the
Yeah.
apps, the whatever that suck the energy out of you, right? And
Yeah.
we have a limited time, we have a limited energy, so focusing on those right inputs, um, to help again exercise this thing is crucial. Yeah.
No, that's amazing, Mike. Well, Mike, I have to say, like, I learned so much from you today, and I'll continue to follow you and hopefully be in touch with you. And it's been just a pleasure kind of connecting with you today. I guess as we near closing,
Hmm.
a few questions come to mind, and then obviously would love to plug uh, your coaching company for anyone who hears this and thinks, okay, I want to work with Mike, because that's sometimes how it works, right? It's just like, all right, I want that one-on-one time. It's that, or they start a podcast and get lucky like me to talk to you for an hour, right? So, um, what would you say to someone who wants to start right now,
Hmm.
and like, that's it. The line in the sand is drawn at this moment in watching the video, and they're like, "That's it. I'm done playing it safe.
Hmm.
It's time to go hard and do it the way that I know I'm capable of." What's that first audit of
Yeah.
oneself to just, okay, start cutting out these maybe bad energies, start
Hmm.
adding the right things without burning out too? Because, like, you know how it is. Sometimes someone will be like, I'm gonna start. That's it. Tomorrow, I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m. I'm gonna go get a 2 hour workout in. I'm gonna read for an hour, and then I'm only gonna eat like raw chicken that's
Yeah, yeah.
boiled and all this. Like, they will go super hard and make 100 dials. That lasts maybe 3 days, and they're back to where they started. What's that
Sure.
first step to get
Yeah, yeah,
started?
yeah. That's a great one. Yeah, first step is you got to decide, like you just said, right? Line in the sand. If you don't make a decision nothing changes if nothing changes.
Wow.
Period, right?
Yeah.
Like, people say they want to change, but do they really want to like, do you really want to get wherever, you dream of going? Do you are you willing to commit? Are you willing to draw the line in the sand? You got to make that decision, right? So
Yeah.
again, ownership, extreme ownership. Are you willing to draw the line in the sand? And that's the first step. Like,
Yeah.
and then it's like, what do you want? You got to be crystal clear. Clarity. Everyone's, oh, I want to be a top seller. Okay. Do you really want that? Do you want that because you think it sounds good, or everyone
It's like a
says,
kid
like,
who
what?
says who sees the fire department pass by, or a fire truck. It's like, oh, I want to be a
Yeah.
I want to be a firefighter one day. And then it's like they see the police. Oh, I want to be. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Right.
my mom always jokes. It says, like, when I was a kid, any if if the trash people pass by, I would say I want to. You have to be serious about it. Yeah, that's so important. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You got to be clear. Clear. The clearer you are,
yeah,
then your mind can find a way to get there.
yeah, yeah,
That's the way it works. You gotta have extreme clarity on what you want,
yeah,
and then you gotta reverse engineer, like, what is it gonna take to get there? Like,
yeah,
if you want to be a number one seller on your team, what is the mindset that person has to show up with every day? What are the habits that person has to install and implement every single day? What are you going to do when you have a bad day or two bad days in a row? Are you going to quit? You have to prepare for that. Like, what's your contingency plan if you have two bad days in a row? If you have a bad quarter, are you going to quit?
yeah,
Or are you going to keep going and realizing you got to play the long game? And I did this with a client early this morning, where I was like, we're working on some limiting beliefs and installing, you know, trying to upgrade his confidence, right? And that
yeah,
takes time
yeah,
and more discipline. So it's like like you said, the audit. Who are you leaving behind? Like, the current you, draw like a line in the sand, make two columns, right?
yeah,
Old version of you're leaving behind. That person has this mindset, these habits.
yeah.
Define that, write it down, take that list, print it, bring it outside and light it on fire. Literally,
Wow.
that's who
Yeah.
you're leaving behind. You're not that person anymore. This is extreme decision making. And then make a
Wow.
new list, right? The person you want to become.
Yeah.
What is that mind? What is the person, your new identity? What type of mindset does that person have? How do they think? How do they dress? How do they act? How do they treat their wife, their kids, their spouse, right? Their friends, their family? How do they show up on customer calls? What are the daily habits that person has?
Yeah.
Define that with extreme clarity and read that 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, right? And take command, take ownership of and commit to that new identity. So those are a couple of things I would do to get
Yeah.
started, right? But it all comes down to the decision. Like you said, you got to really not pretend you want something, and if you want something, you've got to clearly define it and attack it, you know,
Yeah.
with a reckless abandon.
What I take from what you said, Mike, is it's not the decision that's the problem with someone who goes extreme in day one of deciding they want to
Hmm.
be a new person. The decision is the most important part. Showing up is half the battle. So showing up and recognizing that this is it. But it's
Yeah,
it's taking the right next move, not like doing something that you can't. It's like you said, it's 3 times a day of reading it to yourself, and basically it slowly kind of you slowly morph into that person. So you're not going to wake up if
hmm,
you're, let's say, I don't know who, random person that comes to mind. Maybe it's me, maybe it's someone else who's 40 pounds overweight from their wedding date. And not the person they want to be. It's not that, oh, okay, I've decided I'm done and that's it. It's I've decided, I've taken the right actions, I'm burning being the heavier guy, the, let's say, lazy guy, whatever it is. And then every single day I'm telling myself I'm that fit person that is in the
hmm.
best shape of their life. I'm the person who is an elite seller because of X, Y, and Z. So I love that. And then
Yeah,
it's actually going in, like you said, it's going and doing it, but it's doing it at a scale that actually makes sense, right? Not
yeah,
reverting to that paper that should have been burned already. So no,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you, so much for that. I appreciate that. I'm
Backing
gonna
it
go
up
do
with
that.
the action. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Backing
yeah,
it, writing it down who you want to become
yeah,
is one thing. You
yeah,
gotta, I mean, you don't, nothing happens without action, right?
yeah,
And, James Clear's book is, you know, a, million time bestseller over and over because his concepts are very simple and straightforward. They're hard to do, but they're
yeah,
simple and straightforward. Like you just got to put in the reps every day.
yeah,
And when you don't want that day, that I didn't work out this morning because I was pressed for time and a lot of stuff going on and I had an early call, but I'm still going to go do it once we hang up here, even if it's for 10 minutes, because you're casting votes, like your daily habits, you're casting votes for that person that you want to
yeah,
become and that you are. And those votes build up that body of evidence.
right,
It's like putting deposits in the bank
yeah,
every day, deposit, 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 deposit. And eventually you embody that identity, but
yeah.
nothing happens without action. But you got to get this right first. And then the habits and the actions kind of build up that body of evidence.
I love that.
I interrupted you, man. I got me fired up. Sorry, I had to
No,
chime in
no,
there.
not at all. This has been probably one of my favorite discussions in a long time. I wish Muhammad was here. He would have loved this, but he'll watch it, and obviously, hopefully, we'll love to have you on again, Mike.
Yeah,
I've had like such a great time, in the preparation and talking to you before, and then obviously now it's been a pleasure connecting with you. And I'm gonna honestly come back to this one and watch it perhaps a few more times just to kind of walk through some of these things that you talked about. But for those who want to engage you further than this and maybe take you on
hmm,
as a coach, where can they find you, or where can they follow you if maybe coaching isn't in budget or
yeah,
in mind at the moment? What's the best way to connect with you and then also work with you?
yeah, yeah. You can go to my website. So it's mikesullivan.co, not .com. Mike Sullivan, one word, .co.
And
That's
we'll
my
link it below.
website. Yeah, yeah. You can, my LinkedIn profile. There's probably hundreds of Mike Sullivans on LinkedIn, so it might be hard. But my
Yeah.
LinkedIn link is at the top of my website, and you can download the comeback code that I mentioned from my website. You can get in touch with me if you want to chat about coaching or whatnot. But everything's there.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate your time today, and we'll also link it in the show notes here for people to also easily find you. But with that, everyone, thank you all for tuning in to the Dean Deals podcast. I believe this is episode 18 when it drops. So thank you all for tuning in. And one last call to action before we wrap up is a lot of you all watch the show and don't hit subscribe. We have the analytics. Thank you, YouTube, for providing that. Folks, please go ahead and subscribe if you watch this consistently and support this video. Follow us and follow Mike, of course. And with that, Jum'ah Mubarakah and Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.